What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Weekly Gridiron, the official beginning of season 2.5. It is finally here. As always, we are your hosts, Adam
Dante?
And Luke.
and we've got a very special guest joining us today. Luke, why don't you introduce him for us?
Sure, yeah. Former Penn State kicker Joey Julius, back from the mid 2010s.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for joining us today, man.
Absolutely.
Very excited to talk to you.
Yeah, big part of my childhood, part of those good Penn
Make me
State.
feel old, dude. Don't do that.
That's right.
Oh, well,
Not
Hey,
even that old. Come on.
I know, but last time I was truly happy as a Penn State fan, but it's all good.
yeah, you're onto something there.
Yeah, right. Anyway, Adam, you want to get into it? Want to ask one of your questions?
Yeah, so we all prepared a bunch of questions for you. Some Penn State themed, I guess some not Penn State themed.
Sure.
So I guess I could start with a Penn State one. Obviously, you played with some pretty popular teammates, some guys who have gone on to have pretty big NFL careers and all that. Some that come to mind, obviously, Trace McSorley and Saquon. What are those guys like, or what were they like when you played with them at Penn State?
I mean, honestly, they're pretty much what everybody else has said. Like they were like, I'll be honest with you, if they weren't, they were just super straight up good dudes. So
Good.
extremely hard workers, like always the ones in the gym, some of the strongest ones in the gym, especially Saquon. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing bad to say about those two. I mean, you can even see it the way their teammates treat them in the NFL. I mean, they're constantly just like bringing us like joy and happiness as they keep playing. So it's fun to watch. I'm hoping Trace gets some time. I still think he could be a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's my hot take. So
Yeah, I'd
We
love to see
agree.
him play somewhere for sure.
Seeing him go into, like Iowa and like pulling off that not upset but comeback late in that game. I know that guy could still sling it. But
For sure.
I'll jump into mine. First question I have is, while you were at Penn State, which team did you and your teammates hate the most?
that's a tough one because like it would be like Rutgers, you know?
Really?
Like it wouldn't
Oh, wow.
yeah, like it wouldn't even be like who you think. Like, like Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, you just had respect for those guys, but you just kind of got sick of like Rutgers or like one of those schools that thought they had a chance, And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know. It just they would grind your gears. I personally think. I don't know if the other guys like didn't like them too much, but like I love actually one of our old like guys, PJ Mullen, who ran all the stadium. He does that for Rutgers now. So I could be a little bit of a Rutgers fan, but like just schools like that, just like the smaller schools that were still like being chirpy,
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
that kind of grinded my gears. I mean, Michigan, Ohio State, they were dogs. I mean, you just kind of respected them. So
That makes sense. So like the Northwesterns and like the teams like that.
yeah, I had to like Northwestern because like one of my best friends was on the team, Trey Cloud,
Okay.
from my high school. But like,
Oh,
Very cool.
I definitely like, still they were pretty respectful kids. But yeah, Rutgers was chirpy. Maryland was super chirpy.
Yeah.
Obviously I had the issues with the kid from Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah.
No love lost there. I mean, I don't,
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sure they're on to bigger and better things, but
mhm.
no hate for like what you would think. I mean, we did kind of have that like unrivaled like mentality, and I think that's why we were so good because like everybody bought into that. Nobody looked at Ohio State like they were better than us. Nobody looked at Michigan like they were better than us. So I think that mentality really stuck with us.
Very cool.
Yeah, understandable for sure.
So I kind of have an interesting question off that I just thought of. So I'm kind of curious, was there like a difference in the locker room when the game coming up was like, with all due respect to whatever teams, but somebody you knew you definitely should beat? Like,
Oh, absolutely. But like
yeah.
the talk was we can't let down. It was, I mean, my first game I ever played, we lost to Temple. It was one of the worst like feelings I've ever gone through. I know as a team, one of the worst things we ever went through. But it did propel us forward to like success. It lit a fire, and I think that loss made every single week that we were playing a team that we should have mopped the floor with. We were like, we need to lock in.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it was, you know, how his model was 1-0. I mean, it was very similar, like setup. It didn't matter who we were playing. Like Temple really set that in motion. I mean, them beating us, I would attribute to a lot of things. So
Yeah. Very cool.
Gotcha. Well, those Penn State teams definitely seemed like they played with a killer mentality. So
Yeah.
that's a cool story that game was a big part of that. And
especially in the second half, I don't know what was wrong with us, but
We were a second half team.
Second
Not
half
saying
was
we like
just-
I was on the team, but like
you weren't beating us by 40. You had to be worried. So it really was.
yeah,
Yeah. Speaking of other places that we've talked about, you know, you mentioned Rutgers and Temple. Besides Beaver Stadium at Penn State, do you have a favorite stadium that you got to play in during your college career?
It's tough to say because we did played in a lot of NFL stadiums. I really liked playing at Baltimore Stadium because I'm like a Ravens fan now, but I mean I was always a St. Louis Rams fan. It's where I live now. So I've always loved St. Louis, but when the team left, I had to find a team, so I would follow the Rams, and Jay Tucker was the best. So I was like, all right, I'll follow the best kicker. So being able to kick where like Justin Tucker kicked was like extremely cool.
That is awesome.
So like to me, I would say Baltimore was probably my favorite, and it was a tough stadium. I mean, it was windy. I mean, you know, the field was in great shape, but the wind sucked. Pittsburgh, the wind sucked, but it was iconic.
Mhm.
So, and you know, I'm sure for them it was great to see like, you know, a packed stadium. So, you know, you kind of maybe felt like what the Steelers were going through. So it was just all in all, those two were cool. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I could keep going. We played in so many cool stadiums.
Yeah.
Iowa State's was a little underwhelming. I always thought Michigan was underwhelming.
Really?
Um,
Oh wow.
that's what
Michigan,
was
the problem with Michigan is like there's so many people, but the stadium's not high from the inside because it's like a bowl and it just goes out.
Yeah,
So it's not very overwhelming. Ohio State was different, like it was higher. So, but they were when I was there, they did a blackout, so you couldn't really see the fans. It was kind of weird.
Oh, yeah.
I see. Yeah,
So it didn't like a whiteout is so distracting, and for the blackout, it made the uprights extremely visible. So I had no problem kicking in that game.
Oh.
I wouldn't think about that, but yeah.
Yeah, it was weird, and they also had an open end at the one, so you didn't really worry about fans.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
point, too.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny
Yeah, I
that
mean-
they tried to like not emulate the whiteout, but like do the opposite
Yeah.
of it, and it kind of like backfired on them. That's interesting.
I think doesn't is it Texas Tech or not Texas Tech, Virginia Tech? Don't they do something like that? And it's
I think they do some like
looks
kind of
awesome.
crowd theme
It
similar
looks
to
really
that.
cool. Yeah.
A lot of
So-
teams do that now. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's trying something. So everybody's trying to emulate the whiteout. I mean,
for sure.
whiteout's kind of like a weapon that
Yeah.
people don't realize.
Absolutely.
So, but
Yeah.
you know, the Rose Bowl was a great stadium, just a beautiful venue.
Yeah.
Stripe Bowl was great. My first year, I was just red shirt hanging out, enjoying, you know, like Ficken had Derek Jeter's locker. Like we're all
That's
we're all going crazy about
That's
that,
awesome.
you know. We thought that was like the coolest thing ever. So
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, so many cool spots. Lucas Oil was great. That was one of my favorite stadiums.
That's where the Big Ten
That was
championship
Big Ten,
was.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Big Ten championship. Yeah,
It's a
It was
great
cool
match.
because you like, you know, I'm always driving to St. Louis. I drive by it and I'm like, that's a cool stadium. And
Yeah.
yeah,
6
Yeah.
years later, you get to play in it. So
yeah.
Kind of expanding off of that, during your tenure at Penn State, which kick did you feel the most pressure on?
my first ever for sure.
Really?
Oh my God, I'll never forget when we played Temple. I just had jello legs. Like I was just, it was like my first kickoff. I probably was short. I don't think I got at the end zone. I don't know, but I just remember having jello legs for probably the whole game. I didn't miss a kick. I was perfect that game, but man, like my ball flight, it was like a golfer just kind of like hitting it low. Like it was like this.
Yeah.
I was like, just put your ball, like put your foot on it, hope it goes through.
Yeah.
So after that, it was fine. But man, that first game, it just sucked. Like,
Yeah.
couldn't
Sad
catch your breath, you know. It was,
Yeah.
it was, you know, the stuff you live for, really. I mean,
Sure.
True.
Yeah, for sure.
So I kind of thought of a question too when you were talking about the stadiums. Was there a particular away game, like a fan base that they just made it that much more difficult and it was more overwhelming than the rest of the fan bases for any reason?
honestly, I can't really think of one. I mean, Penn State fans traveled well. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only time I had kicking struggles were at home, so I can't really. away games were great. I mean, I was a better turf kicker. So if we got on a turf field, it was, it was always in a different stadium. So I was a much better kicker. So yeah, no, nobody really brought it like us. I think,
Yeah.
and I can't really remember the Tax Slayer Bowl. Georgia fans were pretty good, but they weren't, I don't know, they weren't like as rowdy as us. I've never, it
They
was
also,
funny.
like,
I was a fan. Well, I went as a fan of the whiteout and we beat Michigan the year after I stopped playing. I think it was like 2017. And like first play Saquon, just like they give it to him when he's gone.
Yes.
And I remember like the stadium going nuts when the quarterback he couldn't say anything.
That, yeah.
So that I've never heard that anywhere else. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was I'm trying to think. I guess I didn't get to go to Iowa. Iowa probably would have been really good, I think.
on TV,
fun.
that looked insane.
Yeah.
But I'm sure
Yeah.
it's even more crazy there.
Iowa games at night are always tough to win in that environment for sure.
Yeah.
So that makes me a little curious. Is there any truth to the fact that like Penn State fans would maybe accidentally be a little distracting to their own team?
Not so much. I struggled with like weird things, just like my footing and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
that had nothing to do with the fans or anything. They were always so quiet when we were playing, so you didn't even know like they were there really.
Yeah.
But they also helped you out so much when you needed it that like it was a
Yes.
weapon. I mean, they were the 13th man. So
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
statistically, I just messed up at home. The only time I ever missed a kick was in our own field. So
It happens.
That's also a huge stadium, and that's a lot of people to
It
be in
is.
front of.
oh yeah,
True.
I think it's the second biggest stadium in college football.
Yeah, I think
I think
yeah.
the big house.
Kyle Field.
Yeah.
A&M,
that.
too.
Maybe the big house is slightly bigger, but like you said, you think it's less intimidating.
Yeah. And with the renovations, I guess that are going to go through, that place is going to be insane.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Like you said, Penn State fans, it's a weapon. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've been to the last two whiteouts. It's the best sports atmosphere on earth to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that scheduling department, if they can figure out a way to get one of the big teams on that day, that's a weapon. They got to figure it out. So
Yeah.
matter.
Like playing Ohio State at noon, I don't get. But
It's gonna be tough, but I guess it's
Yeah.
TV. No idea. So, I used to take communications classes. They always said the TV rights ran everything. So who knows?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
All right,
Well,
Adam, got
yeah.
another one?
So what was your furthest field goal you hit?
In college, I think it was only a 40.
Something.
What,
Yeah, I
how
think it was 40. I think it was just a 40-yarder at Penn State.
that's
made
pretty good.
I attempted a 45 against Maryland and I missed. It was a really windy day. I went for a 55 that got blocked, and I think I missed a 50 by like a foot against Buffalo, or maybe it was a 40 or something. But yeah, my place kicking career wasn't very long, so I didn't get a chance to go for anything deep. But
Yeah.
Well, hey,
in high school, I had a 54 in high school. So
wow.
You
That's
know,
still
like
good.
yeah,
those numbers get thrown around, and we as fans don't realize how far that actually is. But like,
yeah. I mean, they've had some kids that come through the last couple of years that could hit big ones. So
yeah, for sure. All right. My next question was, at Penn State, who was your best friend on the team?
probably Matt Zanaletto for like until he left, I would say, for a couple years. And then just Danny, I don't know if you remember Danny Pasquarello, the punter, the Aussie.
I remember. Yeah, I remember.
He was like a roommate for one of the years and a good friend. So
very cool. Nice.
yeah. And then the kickers, we kind of all like the whole special unit, like we stuck together. So if we were hanging out, it was usually with them.
Nice.
So I have something interesting I want to try. I wrote down a few things. So I'm going to say a couple statements and just tell me if you think they're true or false.
Okay.
Most of these are about Penn State. I'm just curious about some of them.
Gotcha.
First of all, I think we can all agree the whiteout is the best atmosphere in at least college sports, but I wrote in all of sports.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, the best I've been to. So I would say the Masters is pretty sick, though. I mean, I got a golf hat on, so I will say the Masters.
That would be cool.
They're like neck and neck, but
Hell yeah.
That's definitely a bucket list thing. That would be
yeah.
amazing to go to also. All right. More of a current event too. If they did throwback rosters, you would love to be in a college football video game.
I mean, I guess pay me.
That is also completely fair. Yeah.
I didn't get NIL. Come on.
Yeah, you guys missed out on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dante, why don't you show them what's on your TV?
Yeah, I got college football 25 literally booted up
At
right
least
now.
you're winning though. That's good.
Yeah, we're at the Coliseum playing USC.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Is there any like feeling of like you guys wish you were? I mean, obviously maybe you do, but you wish NIL happened sooner so that guys
Heck
like
yeah.
Heck
yeah. Oh my god. I would have had such a head start on life, man. I wouldn't have to been a
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If I could have took those couple years back from the restaurant business, I would. So
That's what I'm in right now. So
of course. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously I think NIL will probably end up destroying college football is what it is, but it still would have been nice. I mean, who's gonna say no to money? Especially if, I mean, I would have considered myself a pretty popular person, so I think I might have had a chance at some kind of deal or something. So
Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
But I agree, it is already almost out of control, and just like having been around 2 or 3 years.
yeah, I can't cry over spilled milk. So
Yeah.
I think
Sure.
I think what's going to happen, just a prediction. I think in the future, if these athletes keep getting paid more and they're like stars in college, some of them might decline going to the league, after making so much money from just NIL and like don't want to risk injury or maybe don't even want to play the sport anymore. I think that could definitely be a factor.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, my biggest issue would just be, I guess, probably like egos and personalities and behaviors of the kids. I mean,
Yeah.
money's the root of all evil. I wasn't smart with money my first couple years out of college, so I just hope there's things in place that protect the kids in the long run. That's my biggest issue with college sports. I don't feel like kids come out protected or knowing anything about anything. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. I
True.
agree. All right, a few more of those true or false things. I'm wondering. This one's hits a little bit harder. Do you think Penn State should have made at least one college football playoff by now?
yeah, I think we should have made it the year I was there. I think we got
Yeah.
screwed by when they put Ohio State in. So I'll never forget sitting there with the team and being like, what the hell? Like, so, and I don't know about the last couple years. Wasn't 2017? I mean, were they on the cusp? But
A
I don't
couple
know.
years.
I think
I don't know if they would have won a national championship personally. Like,
Yeah.
Still, just to be there though is
yeah.
an accomplishment for sure.
I think the year that we, beat Ohio State and, won the Big Ten, but Ohio State made it, that never made sense to me.
Yeah, that to this day that never made sense to me. And then the year after, I think all they had to do was beat Ohio State and they were up.
Mhm.
And that probably would have solidified the Big Ten championship at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there was definitely a couple years there. I think I don't know. I mean, isn't there like a statistic on like ranked play? So I think you got to beat ranked teams to be able to win a national championship. So
Yeah.
I honestly, like, I want to be honest, I don't follow it anymore. I haven't been to a game since I left. So I just, I personally am kind of like far removed from it all, if that makes sense. There's no like bad blood. I'm just
Really.
Yeah, I'm just
golf too much,
Yeah.
That's my biggest issue. I'm golfing or working. So, we're watching Copa America.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
What'd you think of Copa America this year?
I mean, they made the right choice getting rid of Burkholder. So, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, you guys know Christian's one of my good friends from childhood, so I
Yeah,
just want to see him do well, and that's all I want. All I want is to see him win. That'd be the coolest thing ever.
Oh,
I mean, I personally think a World Cup win for the U.S. would be the greatest achievement we ever make in a sport ever. So,
and you'd probably be right. Yeah.
Yeah,
whenever
for
that
sure.
happens, that's what I'm rooting for. But college football, I just I follow a lot of high school just because my cousin, I'd love to support him. He's on the D1 track. He's, I think he got offered by Penn State. He's been offered by pretty much everybody. So, his name's Elias Koch. He's out of Harrisburg. He's a wide receiver, so nothing like me. But I'm really just kind of like following him, hoping he does well. That's the beauty of my family. There's so many of us. Like, there's always somebody to root for. So
Totally.
That is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any more you wanted to ask, Luke?
Well, actually, I have one question kind of about how you were saying your cousin got recruited by Penn State and all that. So I did a little digging. I wanted to ask you something about when you were deciding to go to Penn State to kick.
Yeah.
So I learned that you played a lot of soccer in high school,
Yeah.
and that you had a commitment to, I can't remember the name of the school.
It's called SIUE. It's actually like 30 minutes from my house.
Right.
Southern Illinois, Edwardsville. It's a small D1 soccer school. So
Very cool.
yeah.
So how hard was that decision to pursue kicking at Penn State instead of that previous commitment?
It was pretty easy. Franklin got my head so spun up about dreams and rainbows, and I got the whole salesman pitch. I was toast. So it was easy. That was one of the easiest decisions I ever made. I mean, he came in my high school and convinced me to walk away from tens of thousands of dollars in a scholarship to walk on. So obviously it was a pretty simple decision.
He meaning James Franklin?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know he's like infamous for being an incredible recruiter. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anything he said was true, but it got me to go. So
yeah.
I think we all probably would have had the same reaction if James
right?
recruit us.
For sure.
Totally.
I don't think I've ever met an honest coach in my life anyways. So that the recruiting process is what it is. I think it's the worst. So
yeah, probably. It's probably even crazier now, but
I can only imagine now they can throw money at you. Maybe it's more honest now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Did you have any other colleges recruit you for kicking?
So I don't know if you guys know anything about like kicking recruiting, and I didn't know anything about it. But my whole high school career, I would just show up on Fridays, play in the games, maybe come to practice once in a while. I was dead set on soccer.
Okay.
Didn't do a single camp, didn't do a single Coles camp, wasn't ranked. I mean, I was all state in Pennsylvania, and there was, there would be a kid that'd be ranked like 5th or whatever in the state, and he's not even, you know what I mean? Like not even comparing to me in the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a national level, he's like better than me, right? And he has like 10 scholarships. But I did have, I don't know, freaking 500,000 letters get sent to the school. I mean, every school, I mean, I had 1,000 from Alabama, 1,000 from Penn State. I mean, so I had the choices. I didn't pursue anything. Because you got to go to the camps. You got to do all that. I didn't do any of it because I was already doing soccer full time. I mean, I was getting courted by every school for soccer. I was traveling out to Indiana, and I would look at the football stadium when I drove by, and it was more so like we could make a phone call, see if you could do both, but it wasn't. We weren't really thinking about it. The only time, I only ever said I'll only ever go to Penn State for football because when Joe Paul was still there, they had Larry Johnson roll down, and I had a good relationship with Larry Johnson, so I would see him every year for like 4 years, and then when shit hit the fan and he left and he didn't get the head job, I was like, well, I'll never get a scholarship. And that's probably what happened is Franklin came in. And I think there's a lot of us that were on the bubble with the old staff that were going to get offered. And then, when Franklin came in, he's like, well, I'm not giving you a scholarship. So he convinced me to walk on with like 5 other kickers at the time, which was wild. But Larry Johnson, I remember, came down and pretty much did like a challenge for me. He like made me kick in front of my whole team, and he was like, how far can you go back? I think he went back to like 60 or something. So he was like,
Wow.
all right, I'll give you a call. And then 2 weeks later he was at Ohio State. So I probably could have had a scholarship with O'Brien. And then I got a scholarship within like 7 months of being there, or 6 months of being there anyways. That was kind of the intention. I was going to walk on to earn one. So I really didn't. I wasn't too concerned about not getting one. I was very confident in myself, and worked hard and earned one. So
I've never really heard of that. A coach approaching you to encourage you to walk on. I feel like is that rare? I've never heard.
I mean, not really. I mean, there's a lot of really good preferred walk-ons that have, come through Penn State that have, done really well. So I always take it as a sign of pride that I was a walk-on.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't treated that well for a while, but I never, I kind of always hated that walk-on scholarship thing. They make so much dang money. Everybody should just be on scholarship. Like if
Yeah.
you make the team, you're good enough to be on scholarship. There was non-scholarship kids that I thought were way better than some of the scholarship kids. So I I personally never cared about that. I mean, in the beginning I really did. Like got made fun of it terribly for being a walk-on. I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah.
So I definitely cared in the beginning because everybody else cared. But now that I'm older, I'm like, why the hell did I give a crap about that?
Yeah.
It
Totally.
means nothing in the long run. So
What was that process like beating out the other kickers and becoming the starter for the time when you did?
it sucked because like I was friends with them and they competing with each other every day, doing competitions, kicking competitions, and fortunately, I just won like all of them. So they, unfortunately, a couple of the kids quit or had some issues and quit or whatever their reason was. So by the time we got to the next season, there was only 3 of us, I think. So, and then Tyler Davis transferred from Bradley actually from playing soccer. So, you know, it was, I don't know, it was weird. I mean, it was like throwing 6 kids in like a lion's den and like whoever comes out alive gets the scholarship kind of thing. Like it was evil in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Especially being
so
like so young, just go.
yeah, I mean, I've become friends with some of the kids now, and we have great relationships. But I mean, it created some extreme problems on the team. I mean, that's tough. I mean, it's tough competing with people and taking their spot. And I probably wasn't even nice. I was probably mean during that whole process. So yeah, I'd take it all back and just not do it. I'd be like, oh, let you guys have it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
competing, but like, kind of just felt like overkill for a little bit.
Just didn't feel good after you did it. That makes
Well, I
sense.
felt great because I got on scholarship, but then it was like at what cost,
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lost friends, I lost all kinds of stuff. So
Didn't know it was that cutthroat. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
yeah, I think college football is just that in general.
Yeah. Very true.
Kind of a eat or be eaten kind of world.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wanna ask your top question?
Yeah, so did you have any interesting locker room stories while you were at Penn State? Like
Oh,
anything?
thousands, but I ain't talking about those. So
That's fair.
Fair
That's
enough.
completely
That
fair.
makes sense. Totally.
sure. No, I mean locker room is what it is. It's the locker room.
But it's good to know you have some memories from there for sure.
For sure.
Any
So-
cool stories you think you can tell or anything that's relatively calm and cool after this?
No. I mean, just like stupid, just guys being stupid, whipping each other
Yeah.
with a towel here or there, like that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
you put 100 dudes in a room, like it's just gonna be stupid. Like there's gonna be some stupidity, dumb things. So it's just we're just dudes.
Always.
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate when I was there. We didn't have nothing like wild happen. So
That's good.
I think the year after is when something maybe happened, but I wasn't there for that. So
So, you obviously gained some national attention after like your bigger hits, like for example, your hit on the kick return against Kent State. I'm sure you remember that. Did it ever bother you to be known as the big kicker from Penn State?
oh, I hated it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, logically, I flamed out of college with mental health problems, so it kind of destroyed me.
Yeah.
But now that I look back, I don't care. I mean,
Yeah.
now that I'm out in Mizzou, everybody out this way knows me. They just call me the original thicker kicker because of Mevis.
Yeah.
So I've already gotten a reputation out here. So.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
no, I mean, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So, but then I hated it, loved it, reveled in it. Couldn't make up my mind. I mean,
Yeah.
being a kid sucks. It's so
Yeah.
hard. Like you just have no idea what the heck you're doing.
Yeah.
Make the dumbest decisions. So
Yeah. That's where
wish
we're
I
at
wouldn't-
right now.
I wish
So,
I wouldn't have cared about anything on social media or any of that.
yeah.
Well, do you think there are definitely, I'm sure there are. What are like some of the positives that have come from like I know you've been more vocal, obviously, around the time it happened about some of your struggles and some of the things you've
Yeah.
gone through in the past.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
mean,
that
the best thing that
positive
came
from
from
that.
it was, I was able to reclaim my life. I had an eating disorder since I was probably 9 years old. Um, if I would have kept playing soccer, I probably wouldn't have known about it just because I was running all the time and keeping the weight off, and my body wasn't being affected. So the eating disorder was destroying me. Figuring that out in college was life changing for me. And then I think the best thing I ever did was, when I posted, and I wasn't even really thinking about what was going to happen. I mean, I got a lot of flack for it. I mean, they were like, I got like a mean text from, the big guy, and he's like, a little warning would have been nice, and I'm like, yeah, it's 1 a.m. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like stressed out and shot it off. Everybody keeps texting me, where were you? Like, I got people that think I was they're like, people are calling me like I was in the psycho bin. Like, I'm like, all right, I need to just let people know what I was going through. And the best thing that ever came from it was like the ability to be able to talk about it, to continue to talk about it. Um, I'm an ambassador for a non-for-profit here called MOEDA. It's just the Missouri Eating Disorder Association. So they
Great.
do a lot of educational stuff in the schools, and I've done some videos for them where they show them to kids, and just it's good to have, like in anything in life, and it's good to have. I don't know. I'm not thinking of the word. What is it when a kid can see me doing it and they're like, oh, okay, like I can
Like
be
a role
okay.
model.
Not I don't know if it's a role model. It's more so like representation.
Okay.
That's the word I'm looking for. It's representation. It's for kids that are in middle school that, they feel like they struggle, they have eating problems, whatever. I mean, they see me and they're like, okay, it's okay to talk. It's okay. They're like, oh, tough football player. Like all the boys. That's what they keep saying is the boys really uh gravitate towards it, because if it's like police officer, firefighter, football player, any, you know what I mean? The
Mhm.
boys are like, oh, okay, let me watch that. Like
Yeah.
they'll just pay attention, and then they hear what I'm talking about, and then they're like, okay, maybe I'm struggling, maybe I have this, and they're able to, you know, find it early. If they would have found this when I was in middle school, I might have had a totally different story. So
Totally.
the education's huge, and I think me coming out put me on this path to be able to do that and help with that. So forever grateful for what I would call a mistake. I mean, it
Yeah.
was kind of a mistake. So PR disaster,
Yeah.
I guess, the way to get it.
For sure.
So I'm sure I was, they got me out of there quick. I was just a PR nightmare, I'm sure. So,
Oh.
yeah.
So one of my questions kind of bounces off of that is, what would you say to, I'm sure you've said many things already, but just for someone who hasn't heard all of that, what would you say to, whether it's kids or even athletes up to the collegiate level who are struggling with something like that and maybe haven't heard some of the things you've said and don't and are a little bit aimless about it?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is you got to ask for help. And if the person you ask for help doesn't help you, you got to ask somebody else. And if they don't help you, you got to ask somebody else. And you got to keep asking until somebody helps you. That's the hardest thing. For a while, I would ask people for help in roundabout ways. It wasn't directly. It was kind of like I hope they could read between the lines situation and see that I'm struggling. And eventually, luckily my trainers. I mean, without Tim Breen, Pete Seidenberg, and Dr. Lynch, I wouldn't be here. So those three saved my life. Um, they were able to see the signs. I mean, they've been around kids forever, so I'm sure they've seen it before, but it's, identification is the hardest part with this whole situation. So if these kids can just help identify it to their parents or their teachers or the pediatrician, whoever, I mean, it's just going to make things so much easier on them, because the earlier you get it, the easier it is. I mean, statistically, to beat this.
Yeah.
So the longer you go in life, the harder it gets.
And I'm sure that was very, tough to, digest while, playing for one of the biggest football programs in the country. I mean, I'm sure you had a lot on your plate.
Sure, probably too much stress for a kid at my age, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially, my parents are great, but like they did everything. I don't say they did everything for us. I always had to do my laundry. My mom will be pissed I said that, but I would say do my own laundry, and we cook a lot. But in terms of life, they made it easy. They always put a roof over our head. I didn't have to fight for nothing. I didn't have to survive for nothing. So I was just this green kid going into school, first time living away. Didn't really even do the summer camp stuff that much. So,
Yeah.
it was tough. I mean, I didn't handle it well. I wish I could go back now, like as an adult. Be a lot easier.
Yeah. Right.
I wish I could have just played football and then did school later. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I totally get that. Cool. Adam, you got anything?
Yeah, I had one more question here. So I know you said you don't follow college football or football as much anymore, but have you seen the new kickoff rules that they're bringing to the NFL?
no.
No.
Okay. I was going to ask what your thoughts were on them, but I
I
think
mean, like how like the guys are skying it now and they can fair catch it anywhere and stuff.
yeah, I think that's what it is.
That is part of it, yeah. Which
I
I
was gonna ask what you
mean-
thought about it, but if you're not really sure, we don't
Yeah,
have to.
I mean, personally, it's like it's one of those things where if the concussion data is that bad and they need to change something and it is on kickoffs, I mean, change it. I mean, I had 2 concussions in my career, so I was a kicker.
yeah.
So,
Can happen.
it's a high octane situation.
Can happen to anyone, I guess.
I actually think the XFL way is kind of interesting. I mean,
I think that is what
it
they're
seems
changing.
skillful.
Yeah.
but my thing is the NFL's been around for so long. Just keep it at what it is, and I don't know. I mean, I'm also one of those people where I'm like, I'm sick of all these like light hits and things and these penalties for like just hitting somebody square.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I
for
don't-
sure.
it's so hard because
Yeah.
it's like at the end of the day, there's people that go into war zones and they sign waivers and that's their job. These guys, if I'm pretty sure if you put a waiver in front of them and said you can hit each other as hard as you want, they would do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I just hope the brains are okay, but it's what they want to do. So,
Yeah.
let men be men. I mean,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned, sorry to interrupt you, Luke.
No.
Mentioned that you grew up a St. Louis Rams fan.
yeah.
Was did you have a favorite college team growing up?
Oh, well, it was funny enough is like I always hated on Penn State to my friends because like everybody just loved Penn State. And I was just always a rebel. So I was just like, oh, they suck.
Yeah.
I was just like, they suck. They suck. I remember I got kicked out of my one of my like older best friends like when I was a kid. His dad always tells this story when I was in his house and there was a Penn State game and I was like, man, they're poop. They're bad. And he kicked me out. He was like, leave. And he's like, you're not allowed in the house. And I was like laughing, kidding, and he like got up and escorted me out of the house and was like, do not come back. I was like, okay. It's like, okay, sorry. So then I became a Tim Tebow, like Chris Leak fan.
Yeah.
And then like a Gators fan, Gators basketball fan. And then, obviously as the years went on and you get older, you start hanging out with your friends. It's like, okay, back to Penn State. So
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I always use them in NCAA too. So
Oh
like
yeah.
I was, it wasn't like I hated them. It was just like it was more fun to be the rebel in the friend group.
Oh, absolutely.
Disagree with everything. I had to
Oh,
disagree with everything.
Yeah, I'm
For
sure Luke can relate to that because, well, I'm a Steeler fan and
Yeah.
Luke grew up around Steeler fans, but he's a big New England Patriot fan.
I'm a
So-
Patriot.
I thought you were gonna say birds. I was like,
No, I'm a Patriots fan, so
yeah.
I'm sure in-state college, surrounded by Steelers and Eagles fans.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to keep that a little bit under wraps.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, interesting question that I have too, just because, like I said, we're going to the main campus in the fall. How did you like Penn State outside of the football? Like, did you have good classes?
I loved it. I wasn't like I just was never really able to experience it, for so long there's so many years where I just like hated myself and avoided people and just, I don't know. I had a terrible time in college. I would love to wish I could have did it all over again, just been a student, enjoyed it because it's such a beautiful campus. There's so much to do. The golf is great. I miss the golf. I mean, I did enjoy the golf enough when I was there, but yeah, I don't know. It is different. It is different than I remember. It is not as collegey as it used to be. It seems like a corporate
Yeah,
I-
chill now. I don't know. Something's going on up there. So
That tends to be something I've heard from,
yeah, I was
Yeah.
up there last year, 2 years ago for just to golf and see an old friend, and I was like, what the heck? Like there's skyscrapers. I was like, what is this, a
Yes.
small Harrisburg?
Yeah,
So I
right.
was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird. It's gonna end up becoming the state's capital in a couple of years. I mean,
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Maybe, yeah.
maybe.
I'd be surprised.
We were up there a week or two ago
Yeah.
to see our apartment, and
Where you guys
Our-
living?
we're living at the Meridian at the end of College
Hey,
Avenue.
oh yeah. Which
Yeah.
building?
I don't
Isn't there isn't there two of them or three of them?
Yeah, I forget exactly if they even call it like a right or left building or one or two. I think we're in building
I thought
one.
it was like A or B or something like that. But
I don't remember.
I've
I
been
think
there for years.
yeah, I think if it's a thing, we're in building one.
Okay. So I lived in Eastview Terrace one year, which is like right across the
Yeah.
street. And I used to
Yeah.
jump. There was like a bush. I used to jump through that bush to go to my friend's house all the time. Yeah, American's great. It'll be fun. True college experience there.
Yeah.
I
yes.
wish I would have had a downtown apartment. It probably would have been bad, like drinking wise, but
Well,
I lived at the street the one year. It was just so far.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Meanwhile,
Well,
I'm living in farmland at Slippery Rock University. It's cool.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say we were up there to see that, and you're right. My dad is an alum, and he lived I don't remember the name of the apartment he lived, but he was noting how so many of the old apartments, the brick buildings, whatever they were, they're all replaced with these giant, hilariously expensive apartments that
yeah,
seem
with nice
out of place.
pools and yeah. With my job, I work on a lot of those buildings. I mean, they're great, but they're $1,500 a month. So
Yeah,
That's absurd.
it is.
It is nuts.
But like if you're paying to go to Penn State, I'm sure you have that kind of money.
I didn't have that money when I was a college kid.
That's fair. Yeah.
Our stipend money did not go far.
Yeah,
So,
right.
a couple trips to McClanahan's, it was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do love playing hands.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, that's all I have question wise. I don't know about you guys.
I think I
Yeah,
covered
I-
everything too.
I got through everything I originally planned to ask, and
Cool.
yeah.
This was great. Thanks for
Yes.
joining, man. This was
Thank
awesome.
you. appreciate it so much.
We
Yeah.
really appreciate
Yes.
this.
Yeah, enjoy your first year up there. It should be fun. So
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if I end up there at some point. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, that'd be super
Alright.
cool.
Got my 10-year high school reunion, so I got to come back for.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah,
Nice.
can't believe that.
Yeah.
Well, it'll come faster than you guys think. You'll be like, "What?"
I know. Yeah, like
yeah.
I graduated high school. We're coming up on 3 years this year.
That's
So-
wild.
Sooner or later.
You guys graduated. Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine. Don't get me wrong. Working during COVID was weird. I couldn't imagine being in high school or school during COVID. I would
Yeah,
have
it
I would
definitely
have
was.
been the worst. I would have been the worst kid ever. Oh,
I was.
man.
Like my grades
Yeah.
were horrible, but I
I
got
couldn't
yeah,
imagine if I didn't have to go to school and I could work on the computer. It would have been 20 of us living in a house. We would have bought a house. There's no way.
yeah.
Like it would have been, you give
Hindsight, that would be
one
cool,
group
yeah.
that much time. It would have been dangerous. I mean, so I can't imagine. I'm glad that stuff's all over for you guys. So.
Oh, yeah. No kidding.
But you won't get to eat at Are You Hungry, which sucks. It does suck. You guys ever eat there before it went out of business?
Where did you say?
Are You Hungry? You ever heard of that place?
I don't think so.
No,
No.
I think
No,
so.
never been.
That's just like disgraceful that you guys don't even know. It was a place that like had the most disgusting names for sandwiches. They called them like fat bitches and like
Jeez, okay.
what was the one called? Fat. They were all called fat something, but it was like cheese,
Wow.
like mott sticks and fries and onion rings and like all in
Jeez.
one. It was a hangover place. I mean, Monday morning that place was like a zombie wonderland. I mean, it was
Yeah.
dangerous.
That makes
Well,
sense.
I'm gonna have to figure that out now.
Yeah. We'll have to
Yeah, I
see
don't
if
know. I wonder what the fun spots are. Last time I was there, like it was a couple years ago, my buddy made me come up and it was they had something called Line Leap. I don't know if they'll still have that,
I don't
but it
know.
was the worst. It like you used to just like have a friend at the front, you went up, said hello, they let you in. But now it's like you gotta wait in this line or you gotta pay $20 to skip the line. It's like a joke. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
but you go to Champs, wait in line for 2 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
if I was you guys, I would find like a really cool, like find a spot, make it your spot. We had a spot. It's called
Yeah.
Barber. I don't think it's there anymore. But where
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
living, there's got to be like a little spot you can find. So
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Sounds good.
and you gotta go to Den Tuesdays too.
All
So,
right, yeah. I'll remember that. All
All right,
right.
Anyway, I think that does it for us.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Hey, you guys have a good day.
You
Thank
too,
you.
man. Thanks so
Dude,
much. For-
thank
so
you.
much again.
Thank you so much.
All right. See ya.
All right, see you, man.
All right. I guess we'll sign off the old fashioned way then. But so this whole thing is what we've been hiding from you guys for a while. With all the cluing in and previewing of bigger things or big things to come. This is the start of it.
Mhm.
So I hope you enjoyed the start of season 2.5. That will
That was a blast.
Yeah,
That
it
was
will-
so
Cool
cool.
guy.
this will definitely intersect into
Man.
season 3 too. We're gonna have some big names
Yeah,
on
I
here
think-
hopefully soon.
Absolutely.
That was very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Cannot thank Joey Julius enough. That was
Yep.
fantastic.
He's super cool about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I've told some friends, have alluded to the fact that it has been very hard for us to reach out to some people who we wanted to talk to. He was super cool about the whole thing the entire time, and we couldn't have appreciated that enough. So
Yeah, very, very nice guy. Very awesome guy.
He even said, whenever I'm up there next, he'll let you guys
yeah,
Yeah.
I
gonna
know.
hang out with Joey Julius. That's wild.
Maybe we could do a WG meetup. That would be
Yeah.
nuts.
I drive up 4 hours to State College.
Yeah, do it, dude. You're
Okay.
welcome anytime.
Let's
You
go.
know that.
All right.
All right. Well, I think that does it for us. So we have been your boys, Adam.
Dante.
And Luke.
We'll catch you all in the next one. Peace. Have a good day, everyone.